seeing all of you Zoomers as we went back to Eric's table and could see who was watching on Zoom. And we welcome all of you and all of you who've come here today to be with us. We bless you and are so thankful for your presence here. And I've asked Jackie to be with me on some of the songs, so we're helping out together. This is great. And we know who you are, and you know who you are. You are a child of God, and we're so pleased that you have chosen to be here with us today. If you'd like to know more about us, please check out our website at capitalcityunity.org. And if you want to go on YouTube, you can find our past meditations and talks there as well. Well, today is a special day for me, and I almost wanted to sing that song. It's a special day, it's a special day, because Ben is in church today. Now, that's not unusual, but last Sunday he was in the hospital. And so many times we do ask for prayer for people, and then when our prayers get answered, we don't always take time to say thank you, God. So thank you, God, for healing Ben. And it was kind of interesting last Sunday when Marianne was here, just when she spoke the word, I miss seeing Ben, my phone rang. And I thought, is this from heaven? And later I got the phone and it was Ben, just as she had mentioned his name. And he was saying, I don't have to stay 2 days. You can come and get me now. And so after the service, I went and got him. And then we had our 33rd anniversary on Tuesday. So it's been a special day and a special week. Wow. So if you're interested in the flow of the church service today, it will be like it usually is. We will have the reading of the daily word. We'll bless the people and names of those in the prayer blocks, along with the pets, which I think is really special. And we'll have a meditation song of What a Fellowship on page 203. And then we have a special treat before the meditation, and I'll tell you about that later. And then our dear Reverend Phil Pearson is on Zoom today. And through the wonders of technology, we will not only hear him, but see him today. So we're thrilled about that. And then we'll have the singing after that is There is Sunshine in My Soul Today on page 21. We'll have the offering, then the peace song, and then the prayer for protection. Now I invite you to enjoy this beautiful time together, for we believe and we frequently affirm that wherever 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 are together, I am there. That is just so wonderful. And the daily word for today is holy. That's an interesting word, isn't it? Holy. I discover holiness everywhere and in everyone. There are certain places I visit where the presence of God feels especially near, places that feel holy. These may include churches and other houses of worship, shrines, favorite places in nature, any destination where I become vividly aware of the divine presence is holy ground. I remember these words from the Prayer for Protection by Unity poet James Dillett Freeman. Wherever I am, God is. The divine presence I know lives within me. It is the true essence of my life and of every life. Today, my understanding expands. I discover the divine presence all around me and find holiness everywhere. Every person is a holy being. Every place is holy ground. I just love that. And then the verse that refers to this is Genesis 28:16. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And as we began this daily word, I want to say again, I discover holiness everywhere and in everyone. And it is in this consciousness that we bless the names of the people and pets in the prayer box and those prayer requests that you have on your hearts, knowing that as we speak our affirmations and pray today, we hold each prayer in that healing and magnificent light of peace. We share our love and kindness through our prayers. Dear Father, Mother God, thank you. Thank you for every blessing in our lives. We are thankful for every miracle, for each moment that gives us the choice to reveal our true nature. We are thankful for each breath that allows us to live fully in the divine truth. We center ourselves in the divine presence of God as we reach out with healing love and goodness to anyone who is hurting. When we cannot physically be with someone, we know the truth of divine compassion and healing and affirm your loving presence in each person on this planet. May every soul in this moment know the peace that passes understanding, that we are all children of God, and that each of us is loved beyond measure, and love always prevails. And now I invite you to repeat our affirmations after me. There is only one presence, one power, and one love active in my life, God the good, omnipotent. Repeat with me, please. And there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in my life, God the good, omnipotent. And there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in your life, God the good, omnipotent. And together, there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in your life, God the good, omnipotent. And likewise, there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in this ministry, God the good, omnipotent. Together, there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in this ministry, God the good, omnipotent. And we reach out to the whole world when we say, there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in the world today, God the good, omnipotent. And we repeat, there is only one presence, one power, and one love active in the world today, God the good, omnipotent. Teach us, O Lord, to lean on your everlasting arms. We also want to remember Reverend Carla Cometer. She is the senior minister at Unity Spiritual Community of Citrus Heights, who is in need of our prayer. And we bless that church and that congregation as well. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for all of your provisions, for answered prayer and daily blessings. Amen. Well, we have some announcements today, and the most favorite one is to announce that the only book that is on sale today in person just happens to be Phil Pearson's book. And I have already read it and have ordered copies to give to my friends too, because we meet so many friends that are from different religions in the gym, and some are Muslim, and some are from Jewish religion, and some are from Islam and different religions. And I just think this is such a wonderful way, and I do see Unity as the vehicle by which all religions can be brought up to a higher level as we learn more and more about their roots and the commonalities between all of us. We are indeed one. So thank you. This is available today. And if any of you are out of town and can't get here to order one, let me know. Send me an email. and we'll see what we can do for you. And let's see, was there any other thing? Yes, we do have a new platform assistant next week. Well, she's not new, but I'm glad to have her back here in person. That's gonna be Suzanne, so she will be here. And she will just happen to be platforming for Mark Hicks. Is it Mark? Did I get it right? Yeah, Mark Hicks. And he's the founder and developer of TruthUnity.net, a place for study, practice, and sharing of classical teachings of Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. He's been with us before and offers a great resource for anyone wanting to know more about unity, and that's a good reminder for myself to check that out more often. And now we can go into our meditation song, which is a little bit lighter than usual, but we're going to have a surprise afterwards. So we'll sing our meditation song, which is on page 203. It's a special, no, wait, did I get that right? The fellowship song, page 203. Is it 21? Oh, 203. Yeah, 203. No, 203. Yeah. Of course, Spirit leads in different ways. Maybe we should just sing while.
And I'll be your song leader so that you guys on Zoom can hear singing.
And I promised you something special. Let me see if I can find it here. Our very own Sharon has written a book that is more appropriate, I have been told, for leading into the meditation. And it is a song she wrote herself, and it is called I Am Spirit. Ben, do you want to come up and sing with us? No? It's kind of a last minute thing, but what the hey?
We're all gonna sing.
We're all family.
You guys are singing, right? You're all singing.
Yes. We'll sing it through twice, and maybe some of you already know it. So we're experimenting, right? This is fun. I am spirit, I am one with all I see. I am spirit, and I feel the unity as I go within and find the universal mind. beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us, Sharon. What a perfect name. Well, as we quiet our minds and move into this time of meditation, it is wonderful to realize the power that exists as we come together in unison and appreciate that we are here and on Zoom in the very presence of God. We are together, yet we are each in our own holy space as we go within and know that wherever we are, God is. He is ever present, and we are never alone. I invite you to appreciate your own space, your own thoughts, and the special way you lay down any thoughts that keep you from being present. It may help you to relax your body and release any tension that you need not have. You might want to sit up straight, rest your hands on your lap, and let your feet feel the ground beneath you. Breathing is a wonderful way to circulate the good in your life. So take in a deep breath and imagine you have the power to bring into your life just what you need. Hold these gifts in your heart before you release your breath, and then take in another breath. Continue to repeat these breaths as I say the words from a beautiful song you might know. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel his mighty power and his grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. In the midst of his children, the Lord said he would be. It doesn't take very many. It can be just 2 or 3. And I feel that same sweet spirit that I've felt so many times before. Surely I can say I have been with the Lord. There's a holy hush around us as his glory fills this place. I've touched the hem of his garment. I can almost see his face, and my heart is overflowing with the fullness of his joy. And I know without a doubt I have been with the Lord. As we heard earlier in today's daily word, we discover holiness everywhere and in everyone. Wherever I am, God is. Every place is holy ground. Surely the Lord is in this place. Let's pause in the silence and feel our own holy place, a place we can return to any time, in any moment, in any day. And as you bring your awareness back to this room or your room at home, continue to know you are in your right place as we continue this service with a timely message from our Zoom speaker, Reverend Phil Pearson. Take it away, Phil.
There, I'm unmuted. Everybody hearing me? Hearing no nays, I guess they are. Okay. Well, folks, as always, it's a terrific pleasure to be with you. It's like coming home to family every once in a while when I have the opportunity to talk to you. Today is sort of special in that I have Esther and Jackie assisting me today. Esther, because as I know she shared with you, she's just celebrated her 33rd wedding anniversary with Ben. And as you know, I had the privilege of marrying them some 33 years ago. I can still remember when I was asked to do this and I came down to greet these two people. They were very pleasant, beautiful looking people, but they were roly poly. I mean, they were roly poly. And of course, as most of you know, that is such evidence that indeed they were this way, that Esther has taken up the cause of proper nutrition and has gone on to become an author of a best-selling book about nutrition. And I'm just so proud that they did call upon me some 33 years to marry them. And I look forward to celebrating that with them in person soon. Also, am conscious of when I first met Jackie, which was some time ago now, and how when I first met her, she was experiencing a tremendous health challenge. And it's, again, a very special thing to be able to say what a great job she has done with her life in overcoming the challenge that she has had in this area and has found unity in the process and has become a leader amongst us. So it's a special day for me to be with you. And because it's special, I can also begin by saying I'm not going to be really talking to you wholly about what was announced as my subject matter. And that was to be the great inhibitor. I am going to talk about that, but I want to talk about a couple of other things today that have come to me this past week as something that I should share. First of all, I want to talk with you about the business of war. I say the business of war. I want to talk to you about a idea that I shared with you. I don't remember how long ago it was. It wasn't my last talk, but I think the talk before that, I was talking about the war that was taking place, is still taking place in Ukraine. And I was saying at that time that I think this would be the last war. And I didn't take time to develop that at any great length. And so consequently, this week, I got about the fourth person contacted me who said how they were really quite upset by my comment because they didn't know that I would be affirming the end of the world, the end of the earth. They took my remarks about this being the last war as an indication that this was going to wipe us all out. Well, I just want to go on record with you very clearly. That wasn't in my thought at all. Matter of fact, it was just the opposite. It was a totally positive thought, which again, I didn't develop, so I don't blame anyone for being confused by it. But I shared the thought that this possibly would be our last war. I say that because in the past, when there have been issues, certainly between great powers, the only way to deal with it, if there was no easy solutions, was to go to war. And what I was trying to convey is that this present war is being fought at this stage primarily on a whole different level as far as the great powers are concerned. There is great cause for America, certainly, and other nations of our like mind to say we've got to do something about what the Russians have done in Ukraine, and we have got to go to war. Again, there was a time when that would be our only likelihood. But instead, what we have decided this time is we are going to make the aggressor, as we see it in this case, the aggressor pay the price because we're going to do warfare upon them economically. We are going to use all the capacities we have to make them suffer to such a degree that it will ultimately bring an end to the war that's involved. I think, and again, this is just me, one of the great concerns that so many people have around the world is that China is going to draw us into war because they're going to go into war with Taiwan. And we, of course, are committed to support Taiwan. But in all honesty, I do not think China is going to be an aggressor to the point of war with Taiwan, because I think China has had the opportunity to look at what has happened with Russia, and I think is going to be successful in time. And they don't want to have to pay that price, because those of you who follow the world economics, as I try to do to some extent, know that China is having economic difficulties already without having us put more economic pressure and all the nations that might support us, and there would be many, to do likewise to China. They see what has happened to Russia and will continue to happen to Russia. And I'm quite sure the powers to be in China say, certainly at this time, and hopefully that will never change, we really can't afford to draw an economic warfare upon us. So whether I'm right or wrong, and I tend to think I'm right, I really think the situation in our world, which beneath the surface is always engineered by the universal intelligence of God, is that we have reached a point where warfare is not going to become a way of physical conflict that has moved to another level. And partially that is because of the thing that made folks think say the world was coming to end, because there was always a possibility of nuclear warfare. I don't worry about that because I really don't think anyone is going to be foolish enough to do that. Some people credit the world leaders with being that foolish. I don't think they are. I think they're all have enough self-concern not to bring that down upon their heads, because that's what would happen. Well, I didn't mean to make this a historic or a history review or economic review. I just wanted to say there wasn't anything negative in my thought when I mentioned that this might be our last war. I affirm that it will be. I think we are at a great turning point. It's slow, and there are many parts of it that are very difficult for a lot of people, and maybe even more difficult for us in the future, but it won't be like warfare. I give thanks for that. So anyway, that's not what I intend to talk about in terms of the great inhibitor. I'm going to talk about that, but it started me sort of bringing up some other things that I wanted to share with you. And one is I wanted to talk with you about meditation. I presume, as you're listening to me, that you all live a meditative kind of life. That is, you make room in your life for meditation. And as I want to talk about that, or the reason I want to talk about that is sort of a pet peeve I have about people who lead meditations. I remember the first time I heard of it was back at Unity headquarters, where we prepare people to go out and lead meditation in the world. And I remember this person leading us said, all right, now put your feet flat on the floor, sit up straight, and then proceeded to lead us in a meditation. And somehow I had trouble with that then. And subsequently, as I've traveled to different churches that we have in our Unity work, I have been a part of meditations, but I've heard the leader get up and the very first thing they say usually is, all right, now we're going to meditate. Put your feet flat on the floor, sit up straight. And again, I get the old bells. That's not really the way it's supposed to be. Because you and I both know that the so-called great meditators of all times have been leaders of the East. And we all have pictures, if we haven't been a part of it ourselves personally, of them sitting in the lotus position. They're not sitting up straight, and they certainly don't have their feet flat on the floor. Well, how come they're so good at it then, apparently? And we're told, put your feet flat on the floor. This past week, I got the Unity magazine, which I hope a number of you take. It's really an excellent publication these days. But in it, they had an article about my good old friend Jim Blake, who is the CEO back at Unity School. And the article was telling about how Jim happened to be a minister as well as the CEO of Unity. He told a story that I can remember very well. When Dorothy and I were there, I was vice president of Unity School at that time. And Dorothy was, I remember the day, as I say, because I was a part of it. But anyway, Dorothy was sitting on a bench out there, and Jim came walking by, and she called Jim over and had him sit down and said, you know, you need to become a Unity minister. He was a vice president in charge of communication at that time, as I was as I was the vice president at that time, and Jim was serving in the field of communication, primarily through high-tech things. That was his expertise. Anyway, but Dorothy had this insight, as it's recorded in the article in Unity magazine, that he needed to become a Unity minister. And Jim has always credited her with turning his life around, and he heard that word, and is what ultimately led him to become a Unity minister as well. In the article, though, it shows a picture of Jim meditating. Well, you don't see him sitting with his feet flat on the floor, and you don't see him sitting up straight, but rather he's sitting on the ground, not in a lotus position exactly, but he's got his big feet, bare feet, crossed, so they're not flat on the earth at all. So why is everybody going around saying, put your feet flat on the ground to meditate, when obviously that's not the way our leaders would do it? Why is it not the way to do it? Why is it that the meditators of the East do sit in the lotus position with their feet up, facing outward, not flat on the ground? It's because everything physical in our life is symbolic of something. And the feet represents our understanding capacity, our understanding nature, where we understand our truth to lie. So when you put your feet flat on the ground, you're anchoring yourself in the earth. And the earth is not symbolic of spirit or God. The earth is symbolic of the physical. It is symbolic of race consciousness. And so my pet peeve has always been that when people are anchored to the ground, they got to overcome getting tied into the most prevalent race consciousness of the day, rather than opening their understanding by exposing their feet sidewise. You don't have to sit in the lotus to do that. I meditate usually sitting in some manner, but I always have my feet, legs crossed and my feet turned up to receive the input of that which is universally present, the God consciousness. You know, Jesus said, I am not of the earth, because he knew the earth represented the race consciousness of humanity, which has, through evolution, first of all, evolved as earth before humans began to evolve. And so the earth has gathered all of race consciousness. So I'm not saying you have to follow me in my reasoning here, because you may prefer to meditate with your feet on the ground. I'm just saying there's a good possibility from our metaphysical understanding that you're making it more difficult for yourself to receive the input of spirit rather than the input of the earth or of race consciousness. What we're trying to do is to overcome the limitations of race consciousness, which to this stage in evolution has been based upon the limitations and the physicality of the human being. So, for whatever it means to you, part of my sharing today is to encourage you to meditate not with your feet flat on the floor. Forgive me if I'm speaking to any of you who lead meditations and feel otherwise. I just have one viewpoint that I would share. I think that my friend Charles and Myrtle would agree with me. So let me now turn to the subject that I had announced I would be speaking to you about, and that is the subject of the great inhibitor. The reason that I chose to talk about that, I didn't intend to put it in other things here today, but I got the idea of sharing it because out of the blue one day on my computer, when I turned it on, here was this lesson that popped up, this title that said The Great Inhibitor. And I thought, where did that come from? I don't know what I pushed or what I did that would have brought it up, but I started to read it because I didn't recognize it. I said, what is that? The Great Inhibitor. I started to read it and I thought, hey, this is pretty good. And then I thought, you know, that sounds a lot like me. And then the next thing I realized, wait a minute, I did do this. I don't remember. Maybe some of you remember that. Yeah, you did that, Philip, and I heard it. I hope it was, if you did, it was a long time ago. But in any event, I thought, that's good. It's worth our knowing about and thinking about. What is the great inhibitor? The great inhibitor, as I have coined that phrase, is the brain. The brain. And when I say the great inhibitor, I don't think of it in a negative sense at all. Indeed, what I want to share with you today is that it's a positive reality that is part of God's programming for us. The brain is a marvelous computer center for helping the body to function correctly. As we all know from research that's been done, there are certain centers of the brain that control your ability to hear, to see, to digest, to think logically. All of this can be shown to be connected to the way in which the brain works. But overall, the point that I think is worth our being aware of, the brain also has a very positive aspect of working to be an inhibitor to our realization, our total knowing that we are what we affirm so often, spiritual beings. We're not physical beings. We are spiritual beings, not physical beings. And that's a literal truth. We were not created to function to a physical body. We are a spiritual being. We were created that way as an idea in the mind of God. But the all creative wisdom of God knew that if we were all created God's image and likeness and turned loose before we had developed any maturity of the gifts of mind that God has given us, we would have ourselves in one big mess. Exactly like if you took your, let's just say, 14-year-old child and said, child, I'm going to give you one of the great gifts of my life. I'm going to give you $10 million in the bank. And you say, oh, wow. So what do you think a 14-year-old would do with $10 million and given free check to do whatever they want to do with it? I doubt if there would be much maturity action on your part. As a 14-year-old, we could get into all sorts of business with that kind of giving. And so God gave us a gift in the very beginning of his own spirit. We have capacities as spiritual beings to do all that Jesus gave us as an example with his life, and affirmed for us that we could be and do as he is. But I'm quite confident that Jesus knew, as I'm affirming today, most of us aren't ready to fully express our spirituality. And so we need to go through a process of growing into that time of being totally spiritual. We affirm I'm a spiritual being, but I'm saying most of us say that and know, but I'm not really there yet. That's right, you're not. And that's part of the programming, because we need to mature to learn how to love, to learn how to be patient, to learn how to be wise. Love and wisdom, as I say over and over, are lessons that need to be fully developed in our lives before we are able to step into our true inheritance as spiritual beings. Part of the evidence that I know that what I'm sharing is true, the brain acts as an inhibitor for us to this capacity, our spiritual capacity, is that we know that when someone is, I say we know, those of us who have researched it adequately, we know the people who have near-death experiences and are brain dead for a period of time, that during that time, they suddenly find them stepping into a space where they feel totally surrounded by love, not only as their environment, but within their own sense of well-being. They are filled with a sense of love, a sense of knowing. They also find that they have capacities in the environment that they're in to go where they want to go. That is, to teleport, as some of the great meditators of all times, and we presume Jesus certainly could do. Because as a spiritual being, those are all our natural gifts. So what happens, of course, is people have near-death experience. The moment they kick in and their brain is no longer brain dead, the brain is, they're alive and functioning and thinking and talking to the doctor, suddenly they're the same folks that they were, because the great inhibitor has stepped in to keep them from being fully in their inheritance, because they've got to mature before they can do that. They've got to learn how to love. They've got to learn how to meet life with wisdom. And oh, as I have so learned, you have to learn to be patient, which is another word for strength, the ability to strong. When we get those lessons under our belt, we will be ready to be able to say, I'm a spiritual being, and be it. And to have the gifts, the inheritance that goes with it, this sense of wonderful well-beingness and ability to move with mind. I want to give you one other example of this kind of thing. And again, this isn't as easily able to verify as we can verify things through the near-death experience. But I may have told you this before. One of our dearest friends was a woman in Hawaii. And she came in and visited us a number of times when we had left Hawaii and moved here to the mainland. And she'd become quite ill. And the last time she was with us, she was ill. And she then went back to Hawaii, and we received word that she had made her transition. And the same day that she made her transition, the guest room where she had stayed, all the fixtures, which were controlled up on the fan on the ceiling, the lights, they were all turned off. I had just happened to go up there to change the linen in that particular room, and I thought, how come these lights still come on when I hit the switch? And I had to pull the chain. I thought, now who pulled those chains? Well, we had a guest after our Hawaii friend had left, and when I called her and I said, why did you pull the chain? She said, I didn't pull the chains, I worked the switch. So who pulled the chain? Well, it became obvious it was our friend from Hawaii. But it happened the same day she passed. So how did she get from Hawaii to our place and pull the chain all in the same day? Because again, that's a part of your natural spirituality, your capacity to move in mind. Wouldn't it be great not to have to take an airplane again? And even those are our spiritual capacities. But as I'm saying, we are protected by the great inhibitor from having those capacities, but not the wisdom or the love or the patience that our other our mind faculties developed. We must wait until we've done that job before we can physically know the beauties of being spiritual. So when you think sometimes about, why can't I be a spiritual being I am affirming I am? Know that because you're being limited purposely until you have learned your lessons. And the more lessons we learn and prove in our lives, the closer we come to taking on our full spirituality. It's going to happen because it's a part of God's programming that ultimately humanity will live as spiritual beings, because that is our true beingness. We are not physical beings, only for this process of learning and growing. So that's what I wanted to say in sort of a nutshell about the great inhibitor. And oh boy, I had some other things I wanted to talk to you about. I have time to share this. Recently, I pulled a book out of my library, which I hadn't read and have had for some time. It was about the life that Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, one of my heroes, who gave us the great theory of evolution that I've used in a number of my books. This book was Teilhard's life during World War I, and he was a priest at that time. And he went into the service and became a stretcher bearer. And he worked and lived in the front lines of the war in France, in the trenches. He received 3 medals, commendations for his work of going out and practically to the enemy lines to bring back wounded soldiers and to do his work. But the thing that I want you to know about in regards to what he shares in that book is he was talking at that time in this book about he was suffering in a way. He was suffering with the concept of the world seems to be going to pot. He didn't use the word pot, but he had his own semantics for saying, as he looked at the world that day, the world was in chaos. World War I, as he saw it, and many people did. In a way, it sort of looked like that everything would be falling apart forever because these great nations had gone to war. And I was impressed. I thought, this man whose whole life was so committed to God and to so many positive aspects of his thought about evolution was paying a price that I think so many of us do today when we think everywhere you look, the world seems to be going to pot. There seem to be problems everywhere. And you hear more and more about how people can't keep their spirits up because they're so depressed today with all of this. And I thought, Teilhard speaks in his book about experiencing this within his own self, with all he knew, but how he knew that the answer to it was to put his mind upon the goodness that he knew about the reality of God. And you and I need to know this as I wind this up today. We need to know that it's understandable that you have periods of feeling sort of depressed and down about the way the world is. But we are blessed to know that God is always in charge of this universe. And God is going to take us through this experience. And our job is to know that and to know there is going to be a positive conclusion. God is in charge and all is well. Well, I love you all and I bless you and thank you for letting me share my potpourri of ideas today.
Oh, there's a good song on page 21. Can we turn to that, our hymnals? There is sunshine in my soul today. There is sunshine in my soul today. It is glorious and bright, ever glowing with a warming ray. For Jesus is my light, my sunshine, blessed these beautiful songs come from, but I sure do love it when they come to mind. This
You
is
know
just-
the harmony so well.
Oh, well, it's fun.
I've got a
It's fun. There is sunshine, and to look and behold the Christ in every face. And Phil, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for your wonderful mentoring. You continue to mentor us from a higher elevation for sure. I love it. I guess it's time to go.
Now it's time for our love offering. And as the usher comes forward, let's bless our love offering. As we take our love offering into our hand, in whatever form it takes, whether physical checks or virtually through PayPal or bank transfers. Let's bless it knowing that you are giving, and this money supports the people who work to bring you this ministry every Sunday. And your love offering is reflective of your consciousness of love and gratitude toward Capital City Unity, along with appreciation for the message that Capital City Unity brings to our life. So as you give your offering today from a place of love and gratitude, know that your gift is valued, very, very, very much valued, and accepted with love and gratitude. And in giving, you prosper as goodness is returned to all of us 10,000-fold. And let's say together, I give in love because I love to give. One more time.
I give in love because I love to give.
Thank you so much for your generosity to Capital City Unity and for all the love that you give us every week. We are so grateful to you, Reverend Phil Pearson, for sharing with us your words of wisdom. And they come to us, and we are deeply grateful for this and for so much more. We say thank you, God. Thank you, God.
And now, may there be peace on
May
earth.
there be peace on earth.
And may it begin with
Let's
us.
just all stand. You guys at home can stand if you want. We'll stand. Let's hold hands. We're small but mighty today.
Yes. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let
Press
peace begin with me. Let this be the
who?
moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment with peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin
With
with
me.
me.
And now we'll say our prayer for protection we all know and love. The light of God surrounds us.
And us, the love of God enfold us, the power of God protect us, the presence of God watch over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
We are divine.
Thank you for being with us today.
Yes, we are, Jim. Thank you for that.
Please, please, look at
everyone. Have a wonderful
Bye.
week.
Thank you. I will.